pretend that this is my blender. So I've got my cashews in there. And the next thing is a little bit of coconut oil that's been melted again, about half a cup. Put some more maple syrup in here. It'll be about a half a cup, and to tell you the truth, I find that is really sweet, but it really gives a nice flavor too. So half a cup of that, but for your family you can adjust that if you like. Fresh lemon juice, but you know what? If you don't have fresh lemons, you can just add the stuff that comes out of the bottle. Some lemon juice, 4 to 5 teaspoons. We have a little bit of plain plant milk. And I brought this carton just to show you, because you think, oh, well, I'll just, you know, when you go now to the dairy section, well, it's the plant milk section, which used to be pretty slim pickings not too long ago, there is an unbelievable variety that you can pick. You can pick any one of them you want. I'd recommend for a recipe, when you're making something, get the unsweetened. Even just the plain has some sweetness in it. And for your recipe, you want, because it's a binder, it acts like regular milk when you're using another recipe. It serves the same function. But get the unsweetened, because then it's really neutral in your recipe and your other flavors come out. So this happens to be a soy one. There's oat, there's almond, there's all kinds that you can pick. But I just point out to you to pick the unsweetened for when you're using it in a recipe, and you'll have a better product. So you put a little bit of milk in, just a couple tablespoons, and you think, oh my, do I need to buy the plant milk for that? Well, if you're cooking for somebody dairy-free, yes. I suspect that if you just put a little water in, you'll be fine too. It's not a great volume or an amount. And then you put in your apple pie spice and a little bit of vanilla extract. A little bit of salt, again, 1/4 teaspoon. I don't know. I think in this recipe it's not critical, so you can leave that out if that's an issue. Then pretend I'm putting the lid on my blender here, and you push the button and you blend it until it's really smooth. And believe me, it doesn't take too long. Those cashews have been soaked and they just go nice and creamy, and cashew cream is the gold ingredient for vegetable cooking, really. It has such a nice texture in your mouth and makes things smooth. It's satisfying. Of course, they're full of fat, but it's plant fat. This is a special food. This is not a health food recipe because it's full of fat and sugar, but it's tweaked for special diets, and it is delicious and a treat. So you buzz that all up, and what you come out with is this beautifully smooth, kind of pudding-like texture. I have this in one of my favorite bowls, which says a party without cake is really just a meeting. So it's nice to have something that's a treat and special. So again, 2 or 3 days before your event, you can have this set aside, covered so it doesn't dry out. You can have this set aside in the refrigerator so that it doesn't go off or something. Take it out a little bit before you're ready to assemble so that it's not so stiff. And then we put it into our filling. And this has a little bit of a beige color, kind of like something that has maple syrup in it. What do you know? So it looks appetizing still. I find that some of these recipes, they use different ingredients, and sometimes it can look kind of gray. Those of you who are fond of recipe books that have pictures or magazines or things, you wouldn't believe how much they pose those pictures so that they look beautiful. If you've tried to take a picture of your food yourself, you find that out. So you just smooth it all around in there. And then at this point, you can put this, cover this, and put it in the freezer. You put it in the freezer, and that will set it up. Cover that, and this also at this stage, you can have this 2 or 3 days ahead. So you don't have to keep it all separate until the day. This can be covered and put in the freezer. And then that will, you see it's pretty nice and stiff as it is, but that will set it up even more. In fact, when you take it out of the freezer, you're going to have to let it sit for a little bit so it cuts nicely. So that's that stage, and then what else can there possibly be on this delicious food? And that is an apple compote. And I have just 4 apples, 4 nice apples of about that size, peeled and cut into chunks. And you cook those until they're soft. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we are. So this should be this burner here. Again, we're going to put in some of our apple pie spice to taste. I think that's about enough. And we'll put in a little bit of sugar. Now the apples are sweet, so this is something you can really adjust. Some people prefer a little bit of tart for contrast. This is coconut sugar. It says it's organic. Who knows what that label means nowadays. It's sometimes there are different standards, but you probably are aware that they're not standardized. So it means different things with different foods and labels, but it's still probably a good choice that's moving toward what might be better for you. So we put in a little bit of coconut sugar, which has a bit of a brown sugar flavor. It's dark. Let's see if that's coming up. Yes, it's cooking. You stir that up because you want to serve this on your cold torte warm. So you put this on the side, you cook it up. And because this is gluten-free, I have some arrowroot powder for thickening this, which is a nice option. We get it going up here and put in a little bit. It says 1 or 2 teaspoons. When I served this the other day, somebody says, "How did you thicken the apples?" Arrowroot powder, really? How does that work? Well, you just add it when it's all warm. A little bit more. You want it a little bit thicker. And it works really well. And that is what you serve on top. Now, I'm probably taking a little bit too long here, but I'm going to try to serve this onto a plate. I haven't put this one into the freezer, so we're going to see how it works. See how it comes out. I like doing things like this untried because then you can see what you don't want to do. So that's okay. I'm going to suggest that you keep the size of these pieces modest because it's quite rich. This is what's happening to your pie. So you can see why they're asking you to put it in the freezer, which is okay. But look at here. If you don't have time, it actually doesn't come out too badly. It's not nice and stiff in that, but I have one more surprise to show you. And that is some whipped coconut milk. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever tried this before. I have, and it was quite an ordeal. Put it in the blender, put it in the freezer, freeze this one, do that with this. This is so simple, and it's a beautiful white color. All all you do is take your can of coconut milk. If you can shake it and it sloshes, then you need to put it in your fridge for about 24 hours. Then you drain off the liquid, save that for something else, a soup or something. You take what's thick and you just whiz that up with your mixer, just a little hand mixer. And this is your result. Add a little bit of sugar, a little bit of vanilla. I have some white vanilla powder so it doesn't turn brown. It still looks nice and white, like whipped cream. And then you serve that. We put a piece of this, a spoon of that, and a nice dollop of cream, and serve immediately because that will melt pretty quickly on the warm thing. And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas holiday or get together with your family. It's a wonderful time of year, and just enjoy this beautiful rich dessert.